Imagine downloading a brand new app, right? You open it up, and the onboarding screen gives you this beautifully simple, comforting top 10 list of community guidelines.
Right, like the basic golden rules.
Exactly. Be respectful, don't steal content, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It feels entirely manageable. So you click accept, but then, just out of curiosity, you accidentally click on the full end user license agreement.
Oh, the actual binding legal documentation.
Yeah, the fine print. And
Yeah.
suddenly you are staring at this paralyzing, hyper-granular list of 370 specific ways you are currently in breach of contract.
Complete with terrifying penalties, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that induces immediate decision fatigue. You go from feeling so secure in your basic moral competence to just feeling utterly overwhelmed by a system that feels designed to catch you failing.
And that psychological whiplash is exactly what we're unpacking today on this deep dive. Because we aren't analyzing some massive stack of historical documents or like a dense scientific journal today.
No, not at all.
Our entire source material today is just a single, highly provocative image. It's literally just a book cover.
Just a few square inches of digital real estate, really.
Right. But it manages to pack this heavy metal theological universe, a mathematical paradox, and an incredibly aggressive psychological strategy into one single frame.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It really is. The book is titled The 370 Sins Recorded in Scripture, a biblical study of sin, obedience, and the commands of God.
Boy, a mouthful.
Yeah. And our mission today for you, the listener, is to deconstruct how this artwork uses intense visual semiotics, numerical shock value, and honestly, a sheer mountain of academic credentials to completely condition you.
Yeah, to condition you before you even turn to page 1. Because visual theology is a fascinating mechanism.
Tell me more about that.
Well, when a designer and an author collaborate on a cover like this, they aren't just trying to make it look interesting on a shelf, they're building a cognitive architecture.
Right.
They are telling you exactly how to feel about your own life, how to view the authority of the writer, and establishing the exact stakes of the information inside.
So let's start with that cognitive architecture, specifically the mathematical paradox that's just staring you right in the face.
The numbers.
The numbers, yeah. Dominating the very top of the cover in these massive glowing gold letters is the headline, The 370 Sins.
It's very visually heavy.
It looms over everything. But then your eye gets drawn down to the right side of the image, and sitting prominently on a glowing hillside is a stone tablet clearly engraved with the words 10 Commandments.
It's actually a brilliant exploitation of cognitive ease versus cognitive load.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
So the 10 Commandments represent cognitive ease. Psychologically, human beings can hold a list of 10 items in their working memory pretty easily.
Which is why we love top 10 lists, right?
Exactly. It's why marketing copy relies on small, digestible bullet points. Regardless of your specific background, the concept of a top 10 list of cosmic rules feels familiar and, more importantly, achievable.
It's the obedience part mentioned in the subtitle.
Right. But the 370
It just
is
shatters that ease completely.
precisely. The number 370 introduces a massive cognitive load. I mean, if we look at the historical context of categorizing morality, human beings have always tried to quantify the infinite.
Like with different religious traditions.
Yeah, in the Jewish tradition, you have the 613 mitzvot, the commandments in the Torah. In traditional Catholic theology, you have the highly codified 7 deadly sins.
Right, those numbers have a certain ring to them.
Yeah, numbers like 7, 10, 40, they have this deep symbolic, poetic resonance in ancient literature. But 370, it doesn't have that mythical ring to it at all.
No, it sounds empirical. It sounds like a spreadsheet.
It really does.
It makes me feel like I'm being audited by the universe.
Yeah.
But, I mean, from a marketing standpoint, why feature the familiar, comforting 10 Commandments so prominently in the artwork when the entire unique selling proposition of your book is this terrifying list of 370 specific infractions?
It seems counterintuitive.
Right. Doesn't that just invite exhaustion for the potential buyer?
It does invite exhaustion, but it also engineers a profound knowledge gap.
Okay.
By visually juxtaposing the familiar 10 with the exhaustive 370, the cover is deploying a very specific psychological tactic. It's essentially saying to you, well, you think you're a good person because you haven't broken the 10 basic rules.
Like you haven't murdered anyone, you haven't stolen anything.
Exactly, but it's telling you your understanding is kindergarten level. It weaponizes your comfort.
Wow, weaponizes your comfort. That's intense.
Yeah, it implies that while you've been living your life based on the summary, you've been completely ignorant of the unabridged legal code.
So it manufactures this anxiety that only the book itself can cure.
Hmm.
You're buying the book not for inspiration, but for, like, risk mitigation.
Precisely.
You need to know what's on that list of 370 so you don't accidentally step on a landmine.
That is the exact mechanism. It's the tension between the ideal of simple obedience and the punitive reality of comprehensive categorization. It promises absolute thoroughness, and thoroughness requires you to submit to the author's expertise.
Okay, so if the math of 370 sins creates a sense of intellectual anxiety, the artwork itself makes sure you feel that anxiety viscerally.
Oh, absolutely. The visuals are striking.
To visually promise a reader that you hold the map to salvation and damnation, that takes some incredibly intense graphic design. I mean, the landscape here isn't some serene pastoral scene.
No, it's a high-stakes apocalyptic combat zone.
Yeah, the visual semiotics here lean heavily into, well, what we might call a modern spiritual warfare aesthetic.
Right, it completely abandons the soft, traditional Renaissance imagery you might normally associate with historical theology.
It really does. It adopts this visceral, almost cinematic language of ruin and rescue. The way the artist physically guides your eye across this cover is just wild.
It's very intentional.
So on the left side, you have this visual zone of absolute consequence. It is dark, brooding, and just angry. There is a massive, dead, gnarled tree.
And wrapped around its truck.
Right, this thick, predatory giant snake.
Classic imagery.
Yeah. And the entire background of that left quadrant is roaring fire and lightning striking these dark storm clouds. And lying on the rocky barren ground right in front of the flames are these heavy, thick iron chains.
Well, we can bypass the basic identification. I mean, obviously, the snake and the dead tree are a direct inversion of the Garden of Eden. Right?
So representing the origin of corruption.
Exactly. But what is more interesting to me is the temperature of the image. The left side is visually hot and chaotic.
Yeah, very chaotic.
It relies on chiaroscuro, so strong dramatic contrast between the dark shadows of the storm and the bright chaotic light of the fire. And psychologically, the eye naturally wants to escape that kind of visual turbulence.
Which pushes your gaze forcefully over to the right side of the cover, which honestly feels like taking a deep breath.
It's a stark contrast.
The storm clouds literally break. The dark sky transitions into this warm golden hour glow. You have a hill crowned with an illuminated glowing cross, and right beneath it, safe on the rocks, sits that Ten Commandments tablet next to a beautifully open, softly glowing Bible.
So the mechanism of visual theology here is setting up a binary absolute. The left is the problem, right? The chaotic, fiery reality of the 370 sins. And the right is the solution. It's the structural order of the commands of God and the grace represented by the cross. It's law and gospel, visually separated by this hard, invisible line.
But the most crucial part of this entire image is what sits exactly on that invisible line. Because the center of the cover isn't empty space.
No, it's occupied.
Right. There's a lone figure standing perfectly in the middle, bathed in this brilliant razor-sharp vertical beam of heavenly light coming straight down from the sky.
And it's not what you'd expect.
Not at all. It's not an ancient prophet in sandals and robes. It's a modern guy.
Yeah.
He's wearing a hoodie, casual pants, maybe jeans or cargos, and his back is turned to us.
The inclusion of the modern man is really the fulcrum upon which the entire cover operates.
Well, I have to ask you about a specific detail regarding this guy because I'm genuinely stumped by the visual logic here.
Okay, what is it?
I'm looking at those chains on the left side again, the heavy iron chains lying on the rocky ground. My first assumption, looking at the fire and the lightning, is that the environment is so apocalyptic that even the chains melted and snapped.
Ah, I see.
Like the fire on the left just destroys everything, which is incredibly bleak. Am I reading that right?
It's a very easy assumption to make, especially given how destructive that left side looks. But if we apply the visual syntax of historical liberation theology, the meaning actually flips entirely.
Wait, really? Flips how?
In this specific genre of religious iconography, chains almost never represent the environment. They represent the spiritual state of the human.
Oh, I see.
So the broken chains belong to the realm of the dark left side, yes, but they aren't broken by the fire. They are broken because the modern man stepped out of that darkness and into the central beam of light.
Oh, wow. So the destruction isn't environmental at all. It's personal liberation. He literally dropped the chains of the 370 sins and walked to the center line.
Yes. The light beam isn't just an aesthetic spotlight, it's an active, isolating mechanism. It highlights his agency. By placing him squarely on the dividing line, the artist makes him a proxy for you, the listener.
Okay, the hoodie suddenly makes total sense.
Right. The wardrobe choice is critical to the immersion. If the central figure were dressed in, ancient flowing robes, the book would read as a historical or abstract academic text.
You'd observe it from a distance.
Exactly. By putting him in an everyday hoodie, the cover collapses thousands of years of theological history directly into your present reality.
That's fascinating.
It tells you that the ancient cosmic battle of the snake and the cross is happening right now in your modern life while you are wearing your everyday clothes.
It turns the cover into an interactive menu screen for your soul. It's forcing you to map yourself onto that exact spot.
Yes, exactly.
You're the one standing between the chaotic, fiery consequences of all those hidden rules you didn't know you were breaking and the glowing, peaceful order of the right side. You have to choose your path.
And it does so by physically turning the figures back to us. In art history, a figure seen from behind, it's called the Rücken figure technique, famously used by romantic painters like Caspar David Friedrich.
Oh, right, the wanderer above the sea of fog kind of vibe.
Exactly that. It invites the viewer to identify with the subject and look with them at the landscape. You aren't looking at him, you are meant to step into his shoes and look out at the terrifying choice between the 370 sins and obedience.
But, to visually promise a reader that you hold the absolute dividing line between cosmic salvation and fiery damnation takes an incredible amount of, audacity.
It's a bold claim.
You are drawing the definitive map of reality, which logically makes you ask, who actually believes they have the authority to draw that map?
Right.
Who is standing at the front of the room handing out this incredibly heavy syllabus?
The epistemology of the cover, basically how it claims to know what it knows, relies entirely on the messenger.
Makes sense.
When the message is this granular and definitive, the messenger must appear infallible.
Which brings us to the bottom of the cover. The anchor of this entire chaotic scene, the name of the author is printed clearly, Reverend Dr. Antonio Arnold.
Okay.
But honestly, it's the block of text that comes after his name that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. It is an absolute alphabet soup of credentials.
Let's hear it.
Let me read this exact string of postnominal letters. Deep breath, MDiv, MRE, MATS, BT, BIS, CAI, CDM, CBE.
It is an extraordinary visual block of text.
It's massive. Looking at this, my first thought was that this author has almost as many degrees and certifications as there are sins in the book.
That's one way to look at it.
But let me push back on this strategy because from a reader's perspective, this almost feels counterproductive. I get wanting to establish credibility. But stacking 8 different acronyms after your name, does that actually make you trust the author more? Or does it feel like a massive wall designed to keep you out?
It's an imposing wall, for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like an invitation to a thoughtful conversation. It feels like I'm being told to sit down and be quiet because the supreme expert is talking.
Well, you're touching on a vital psychological dynamic of credentialism, particularly in highly dogmatic texts.
Okay.
The short answer is, this cover has no interest in inviting you to a conversation. It is a declaration of unilateral authority.
Wow. Unilateral authority.
Let's look at why religious texts specifically use this tactic compared to secular academic works.
Yeah, because a secular history book usually just says PhD and leaves it at that.
Right. A secular text relies on the reputation of the university press or a single terminal degree. But when you are dealing with a religious text aimed at a lay audience,
especially one making a claim as radically specific as categorizing exactly 370 sins.
Exactly. You are operating in a space of high epistemological vulnerability.
Meaning, people are going to question how you came up with that specific number.
Exactly. You're claiming to have meticulously, exhaustively audited the entire biblical canon. If you say there are 370 sins, someone is immediately going to say, well, what about 371?
Did you miss one?
Or did you invent some? To defend against that inevitable theological scrutiny, the author deploys credential stacking as a form of intellectual armor.
Ah, so it's a shield.
It is the architecture of unquestionability. MDiv is master of divinity. MRE is master of religious education. MATIS is master of arts in theological studies.
That's a lot of masters.
And we don't even need to decode all 8 of them because the literal meaning of the acronyms is secondary to their visual impact.
The sheer volume is the point.
Yes, it creates a typographical fortress. By combining the traditional pastoral and academic titles, Reverend and Doctor, with a dense block of postnominal letters, the cover signals that the author possesses the supreme linguistic, historical, and theological tools to find these 370 sins.
It's basically telling the reader, do not question my math. I have spent decades acquiring the specialized knowledge to decipher the fine print of the universe, and you haven't.
It preemptively invalidates the reader's skepticism. It tells the prospective buyer that this isn't a casual, feel-good devotional for a Sunday afternoon.
Clearly not.
It is an exhaustive, heavily researched manual. It appeals to a very specific psychological need, the desire for definitive, unquestionable answers provided by an unquestionable authority figure.
Right.
In a world of moral ambiguity, the author is offering absolute, rigorous certainty.
So when we pull all these disparate elements together, the psychological strategy of this single image is honestly staggering.
It really is.
We didn't need to read hundreds of pages to feel the weight of this book. The cover alone uses the jarring numerical shock value of 370 versus 10 to instantly create a knowledge gap and induce decision fatigue.
Absolutely.
It uses hyperdramatic, heavy metal visual contrasts, the rotting tree and the roaring fire battling the glowing cross, to physically push your eye toward the center.
Right.
It drops a modern proxy, a guy in a hoodie, right on the firing line to make you feel personally implicated. And finally, it anchors all of that intense cosmic drama with a literal typographical fortress of academic credentials to ensure you don't question a single word.
It is a masterclass in conditioning the audience. Before you have engaged with a single argument, the cover has convinced you of the terrifying gravity of your moral situation,
Yeah.
the inadequacy of your current knowledge, and the supreme specialized qualification of the author to rescue you from your own ignorance.
It's brilliant, and it's terrifying. Which leaves you with one final lingering thought to mull over today. Think about the psychology of self-monitoring.
Oh, that's a good point.
Imagine someone actually hands you this book right now. You hold it in your hands, and you know for an absolute fact that inside those pages is the definitive, exhaustive list of all 370 sins.
Every hyper-specific way you could possibly fail.
Right. Would you actually open it, driven by an intense, burning need to know exactly where the boundaries are? Or would you leave it closed, terrified that by reading it, you would accidentally discover you've been breaking a hyper-specific rule every day of your life that you never even knew existed?
That's a tough choice.
This really is. Sometimes, the only thing more frightening than not knowing the rules is knowing every single one of them.